Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. My all-time favorite ride at Walt Disney World in Florida. Ever since I was a kid, I always enjoyed riding a Star Cruiser to join Buzz Lightyear in his battle against the evil Emperor Zurg. But you're all probably wondering, why do I love this ride so much despite how basic it is? And why do I hold it in higher regard than every other ride or attraction at Disney World? Simple, I think the ride is an absolute masterpiece.
Say what?
Now, in order to understand how I came to enjoy this wonderful ride, we must go back to good old 2011, when I was a cheerful little kid at the age of 5 years old. One day, I was sitting at the table using my mom's computer and just doing some internet surfing. Then at one point I decided to go on YouTube and watch videos of some Disney World rides, since I was in the mood for seeing some magic from the wonderful world where dreams come true. But as I was looking through some of my favorite childhood attractions from back then, a certain something caught my eye. I looked over to see something about a Buzz Lightyear ride being at the park. Now keep in mind that this is when I just started getting into Toy Story. I got Toy Story and Toy Story 2 on DVD and Blu-ray, and I had recently seen Toy Story 3 a year prior. So, with this ride catching my attention, my little 5-year-old self went over to my mom and said, "Mommy, I want to ride the Buzz Lightyear ride at Disney World." And fortunately enough, my 6th birthday was coming up soon, so that was the perfect opportunity for my dear mother to fulfill my request. So fast forward to my birthday, I was called out of my kindergarten class a bit early so my family and I could get ready for my special day at Disney World. And so we set off for the most magical place on earth, and oh boy, let me tell you that I had an amazing time out there. I had a blast at both Epcot and Hollywood Studios, if I remember correctly, but of course, that's a story for another time. Anyway, the afternoon became evening, and we were finally at my favorite of the 4 theme parks at Disney World, the Magic Kingdom. Now of course, it was only fitting that we saved the best Disney World theme park for last, and my parents surely delivered on that end for my special day. But anyway, I'm getting a bit off topic. As the evening sky started to get darker, my 6-year-old self asked my mom, "Mommy, when are we gonna go on the Buzz Lightyear ride?" But little did I know that my mom had something big in store for me. Not long after I asked that question, my family and I walked to the eastern side of Magic Kingdom, straight to Tomorrowland. Now back then, that was my first time in Tomorrowland, at least as far as I can remember. I had never seen any of this retro-futuristic space stuff before. I was more of a Fantasyland kid at the time. But as we walked through the Tomorrowland entrance and straight into the main plaza, there it was, located right behind the Monsters Inc. laugh floor, the epic wonder that is Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin. Now this is when my life took a major turn. As soon as my family and I stepped through the ride's entrance, I was just there. I was treading on the grounds of Star Command headquarters, home of the Universe Protection Unit, and further back in the headquarters main base was none other than the legend himself, Buzz Lightyear, briefing everyone present on what was going on in the galaxy. In his exact words, I quote, "Scanners are detecting more trouble at Sector 9. No doubt it's the work of a nefarious criminal, the sworn enemy of the Galactic Alliance, the evil Emperor Zurg. His robotic army is stealing crystallic fusion power cells. Without those cells, we'll all be powerless and at the mercy of Zurg. Star Command picked a fine time to send in new recruits. Alright, you junior Space Rangers, listen up. The Green Squadron will retrieve the power cells, while the rest of you concentrate on those robots. We'll rendezvous at Planet Z. I will remain here at Star Command to coordinate the mission. Battle stations, report to the flight deck for immediate launch. To infinity and beyond." So, yeah, I was about to join Buzz Lightyear in the heat of battle. So we headed to the flight deck where we boarded our Star Cruisers with 2 laser cannons, or as I'd like to call them back then, Astro Blasters, mounted to each of them to set off on our galactic journey, and that was when the real experience had begun. As soon as we pulled up to Planet Z's exosphere, I mean, just look at this! This is the stuff that I witnessed as a 6-year-old on my birthday. Giant robots sent out by Zurg himself to confront us Space Rangers. I knew I was going to be in for one heck of a ride. And bro, listen to this music. This has to be some of the best music I had ever heard on a Disney World ride. Absolute masterpiece. That's all I can say. So, after we tore through the robotic army, we pulled up on Planet Z, where more of Zurg's minions were waiting for us. You know what I mean? Just look at this scenery. Disney was cooking when they were making all these props. All of this looks like it was taken directly out of the Star Command TV show that aired just a couple of years after this ride first opened. So then we finally got up in Zurg's lair, and he's shouting over his intercom, being all like, "Intruders, guards, seize them, and their little green friends too." And before you go typing down in the comments, yes, I kid you not, in the original version of Space Ranger Spin, they had this man sounding like Bayverse Megatron as opposed to the Darth Vader-like voice he has in the movies. But I honestly prefer the Megatron-like voice, because it's a unique take and it makes Zurg sound more menacing. So Zurg was powering up his secret weapon that he planned to use to conquer the galaxy, telling his minions, "We cannot confuse themselves. Power, I must have power." And then Zurg got up out of there, ready to take over everything. But luckily, there was an emergency escape hatch in his lair, so we went through the hatch and chased after Zurg. So we got to scrapping with this man as we zoomed through space, and the battle was just getting crazy. Zurg was talking all this stuff saying, "Prepare for total destruction." But bro gets the mess blasted out of him every time he starts gloating. I mean, hey, at least unlike Syndrome though, this man could put up something of a fight. But then after some blasting, that's when we got Zurg right where we wanted him. The Green Squadron was just tearing this man's secret weapon apart as we were blasting it, and Zurg was all like, "Stop that, I'm indestructible to you here, indestructible. Miserable do-gooders, bite-sized pipsqueaks." But I'm not gonna lie, those flashing lights from when the camera was taking pictures of us just blinded me back then. But hey, at least I can tolerate it nowadays. But anyway, we ended up destroying Zurg's secret weapon, with Zurg himself being taken into custody. Meanwhile, Buzz was congratulating us, saying, "Mission accomplished, Space Rangers. Check the status board to review your score. And remember, to infinity and beyond." And so that concluded my first ever ride on Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin at Magic Kingdom. But here's the thing, I ended up enjoying that ride so much that when my family and I were riding the People Mover sometime afterward, I told both my mom and my dad that I wanted to go on that ride again. Yup, I had just found my new favorite ride at not just Magic Kingdom, but Disney World in its entirety. I enjoyed this ride so much that I made what is pretty much a tradition to ride Space Ranger Spin any and every time I visit Disney World for my birthday. And it's not just on my birthdays either. Every time I visit Magic Kingdom in general, I try to get in a ride on this attraction just to relive those wonderful memories from my 6th birthday. It even got to the point where after an entire decade, I had finally reached the ride's maximum score and achieved the rank of Galactic Hero. That is one of the most legendary feats in my history at Disney World. And that's not all, because I almost forgot to mention this. While in the gift shop after getting off the ride for a second time on my 6th birthday, my mom bought me a personal Astro Blaster and some makeshift targets that were sold at that store so I could practically have the ride itself at home. It's a shame that the blaster stopped working around the time I was in 8th grade though. That thing was like 18 years old by then. But yeah, that was the story of how Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin came to be my favorite Disney World ride of all time. And even though this newer version of this ride doesn't open again until April 8th, I had already seen videos of cast member previews of the attraction. And without spoiling anything, let me just say though that the ride is equal parts still what I grew up with, and not so much at the same time. But you know what? Even with the changes that I'm not so fond of, I still love this ride and consider it my all-time favorite. So yeah, that concludes my video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my content. Anyway, with all of that said and done, I will see you guys in the next video.